Good evening, candidates Hill and Goldberg. Welcome to our candidates night. We had a coin flip again to determine the order of introduction, and candidate Hill won that. So you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. I tried to defer like in a football game, but that didn't work. So, good evening. I'm really pleased to be here this evening, and I want to thank RHA for hosting this event. It's really important to have an opportunity to get to meet candidates, for them to be able to come out and you hear their voices and they hear your questions and you be able to really connect with them. So, who am I? I am the proud mother of 2 Griffin graduates, a loving wife to Randy Hill, a blessed grandmother of 4, honored executive director of an organization called Pathways to Independence, which is a social impact organization. I am a committed community member, and I am a humble school board trustee. I'm a woman who really believes that parents have the right to educate their child the best way they see fit. I want and believe that LaSalle is an amazing option for those parents. We know that people move here for our schools. We know that this community creates an incredible environment for our students. You can look at a lot of Orange County schools and see where they may do one thing well. In LaSalle, we are committed to the 4 A's, and we do them well. And that would be academics, athletics, activities, and the arts. I also believe in local control. I believe that we need to have more control in our school districts so that it matches our community. And I fight for that with my voice in Sacramento as well, as often as I can. I have a long track record of doing this. I believe very strongly in our parents and in our teachers and our community members. I have put myself in a lot of really uncomfortable positions to hear constituents. I want to hear every voice, not just the voices that agree with me. And I'm here for the greater good. Thank you very much.
Candidate Goldberg, it's your turn, 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Rona Goldberg. I'm running for School Board Trustee Area 3. Thank you, RHA, for having me and for all of you coming out to hear me. So my family moved to Rossmoor 9 years ago. We were looking for a place to raise our family, for a great church and good schools. I can't even really tell you how we found Rossmoor. Just somehow we were driving and then we were at Rossmoor Park. And we were like, where are we? What is this community? And we were like, could we actually move here? And it was like a hidden gem. So we sold our house in Los Angeles and we bought out here in Rossmoor, and it's been great. We have wonderful neighbors, and it's a great community, and there are great schools. So while walking in the neighborhood one day, I met a lady, and she was telling me about some of the things that were happening in the district, some things that they were teaching. And it caused me some concern. And I was shocked. There were some things related to critical race theory. So, okay, fine. So that just piqued my curiosity. I wanted to know more. I was shocked because, one, that was being introduced at the district, and secondly, because I didn't hear it from the district itself. So I started to attend board meetings. And then as I got more involved, I started having more concerns. So right now, currently I have 2 children in the district, recently 3. My son just graduated in the summer, and now he's in college. So like I said, I've been concerned about what the kids are learning, and the feedback I've been getting from parents is that they're concerned. They're concerned and they have questions about the ethnic studies classes, the new health curriculum, and the new social emotional curriculum, which I've asked for, like what that is, and so far I haven't gotten a response. So I think a lack of transparency is an issue, and I would like to have more of that from the board. And if I'm elected, I will serve to act as a liaison between the community and the district.
Candidate Goldberg, you'll be answering this first question first. What is one specific passion or interest you have towards our district schools? How can you bring this passion to fruition in your representation as a school district trustee?
One interest I have, and it's personal, I have a special needs student. So, and it's been hard because just trying to get access to all the services has been, it's almost, you feel like you need a second job to, just as what it entails to find out what to do. So I would like to be an advocate for parents that are trying to navigate the whole special needs community, as I'm on that journey as well. I would like to have more, if we could, when I'm on the board, and I know I wouldn't be, you know, it's just, I have to work as a team, but I would like to have more funding to increase the professional development for teachers. I used to be a classroom teacher. I understand when you have multiple levels in a classroom, it can be very challenging. So I would like to offer the teachers support so they can help special needs students. So that's a passion for me.
Candidate Hill, I'll read the question again. What is one specific passion or interest you have towards our district schools? How can you bring this passion to fruition in your representation as a school district trustee?
Thank you very much for the question. I think one of the things I'm most passionate about is really hearing what parents want for their children. I believe very strongly that each parent is different and has different desires and different goals for their children. I believe that their households have different beliefs and that they want their children to come from their value systems and their beliefs. And I believe that that has to be done on a local level, and it has to be done with us being able to take what is mandated at the state and open up as many options as possible to parents. I think a lot of times things are said about what we're doing in the school district that are incorrect. And they may be incorrect completely, or they may be mandated by the state, and we're trying to find the best options possible. For a quick example, we have our Healthy Life program for our children, and we know that there are a lot of parents who really feel strongly that they want to have those conversations with their children. They don't want those conversations had in a classroom. But I also know that there are children that are never going to get those conversations, and those conversations need to happen so they understand what is going on with their bodies. And so we give our parents the choice of understanding what the curriculum is, and they can opt out if they choose to, and educate their child at home for that. The more opportunities we have for parents to make decisions for their children, the stronger our district is. And that is something that I fight for on a regular basis.
Thank you. The next question for you both concerns the pandemic. Candidate Hill will go first, followed by candidate Goldberg. The COVID pandemic brought immediate and tremendous change to the teaching and learning processes. What are some good things we have learned from the pandemic, and what are the biggest challenges we face in recovering from the pandemic?
Thank you very much for the question. Well, I am going to brag on our district because we were the first district to open in Orange County. We were also a district that gave parents options once again. So there was a hybrid opportunity for parents if they wanted their children in school, and there was an amazing opportunity for their students to learn online if they felt that was what was best for their families. I think that we addressed those issues better than anybody I've seen, and I don't brag on that related to me as a board member. I do as staff. Just imagine having your whole life upheaved and having to figure out how do we keep engaging our kids. Our kids were online with their teachers in March in less than 3 days. Less than the 3 days, they were still engaged. When the new school year came around, they had options. They had options to go to school in a hybrid method, or they had options to stay at home. When we came back fully in September, our students came back fully in September with limitations to make things safe. We did all of that and brought them all back. It has been an incredible journey, and I am on a CSBA delegate, and I talk to a lot of delegates in Orange County. And I know that what we did is way up there on anybody's list. And it's because, once again, we wanted parents to have the best options possible for their children. There are over 1 million children in this country that have been lost in the system. Nobody knows where they are because districts didn't work this hard to get these options open. Thank you.
Candidate Goldberg, I'll reread the question for you. The COVID pandemic brought immediate and tremendous change to the teaching and learning processes. What are some good things we have learned from the pandemic, and what are the biggest challenges we face in recovering from the pandemic?
Well, I'll start with the challenge. I think one of the big challenges is, well, two. One, mental health. I think a lot of the students had a hard time being isolated for such a long time, and that's something that's still being addressed. I know the district, through the bond of all the residents, was able to get the money to build the new building. Then they have a new mental health aspect there, which I think is important. I would like actually to know more about it. I think that also goes with the transparency that I've talked about, that I would like to see more transparency from the board. But they do have a new mental health facility at the school, which is important for all the kids. And also another challenge that I see is just learning loss. So a lot of our scores are, well, we're about 50, for the high school, we're 57% proficient in math. We lost about 800 students since, I think, in the past 2 years. So I think those are important aspects that need to be, if we can fix it, to draw people back into the district. And for the things that went well, I would say, I think the district actually did a good job as far as getting the online schooling and everything up and running pretty quickly. So I think that went well. And also, I would say that people got through it and were resilient. I think the teachers and the parents and the staff worked together very well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask our host, we've got 3 questions. We have 1 question we'd like to ask last. Do we have time for all 3, or? Yes. Okay, great. All right, so candidate Goldberg, this will start with you, but you will both be asked this question. Funding for public education is often misunderstood by the general public because of the multiple sources and ever-changing legislation that guides it. Do you feel that the local control funding formula helps or hurts the education budget for Los Alamitos? What are insights that you share with others less informed about the school budget to help them better understand it?
Okay, so I'm not totally familiar with the budget. I know the money we have, about 80% of it is used for staff and benefits and things like that. So I would say with the remaining money that we have, it's important that the board does give oversight for the budget. We don't make the budget, but we do approve the budget. So I think it's important to just use common sense measures with what we have to spend and what we can spend it on. Things that are important. I think also getting input from the community is important to see what the community feels is important.
Candidate Hill. Funding for public education is often misunderstood by the general public because of the multiple sources and ever-changing legislation that guides it. Do you feel that the local control funding formula helps or hurts the education budget for Los Alamitos? What are insights that you share with others less informed about the school budget to help them better understand it?
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate this question because this is how I got involved in the school district to begin with. And about 14, 15 years ago, there was an issue with budget shortfalls in Los Alamitos Unified. And my background is I have a degree in accounting, and I have been an executive and dealt with P&Ls all my life and budgets. And so I went to this meeting and said, how hard is it really to balance the budget in a school district? Well, you know what I found out? School district funding is substantially different than regular funding. So it is a very difficult and a very learned process. And so when you talk about that, because of our social economic status that we have here in this community, we get the lowest amount of funding. We get about 15% extra funding because of our free and reduced lunch. Other than that, we get the base. That's all we get is the base. And Sacramento keeps putting additional mandates on top of us. One of them is special education. They have all these mandates for special education, and when they fund it, we don't know, but we have to take out from our general fund to make sure those things are covered. And they promise us the money in the future. There's been a big push on lifting the base. The more, if they would fund the base, we would have the opportunity to have more of that local control and be able to do a lot of the things we want to do. One of the other huge issues is the pension issue. And I completely believe that teachers they earn and get their pensions. But what Sacramento's done is that they've taken that and they've put that responsibility on the district. And now all of a sudden, where we never had to budget for that before, now we're having to budget for that. And that's coming directly out of dollars for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question also concerns some financial matters and also teacher tenure. Candidate Hill, you'll answer first, and then Candidate Goldberg. By some measures, the most highly compensated teachers in Orange County and in the state of California teach in the Los Alamitos Unified School District. After a teacher has successfully completed his or her 3-year probationary period in the Los Al schools, it is nearly impossible to fire them. Discuss the pros and cons of this agreement, most commonly referred to as teacher tenure.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to do that. I very much support our professional teachers. We have tremendous professional teachers, but I don't agree with the system under which we are. And so I believe that all of us have to come and do our very best every day, and I believe our teachers do that. And so, but on the other hand, it is very difficult in the situation to have the support of teachers when there is this tenure sometimes in play. And so we have professional development, that we have extensive professional development for our teachers. And that isn't something that can necessarily be mandated. That is something that we have to, as a culture, create them wanting to do that. And I would say that the majority of our teachers do those kinds of things. But the issue is that there is no way to hold them accountable that directly hits their pocketbook. And I think that out in the world that I've lived in as a professional all my life, that is the way that the world works. But this is the system we're under, and we're very, very fortunate here in Los Al to have tremendous teachers. And so I think that we work really well together when it comes to that. But I do think as a whole that sometimes that problem can be systemic. I don't think we have that here. And I think our teachers are paid really well here because they do a really good job, and that we manage our budget so that we can do that. and so that we can continue to pay them and get the best talent we possibly can. You know that if you have a school that is starting at one level and then a school that's starting at another level, you're going to attract better talent. And when that talent comes into our district, it lifts the bar for everybody. So that really is always been our philosophy and our goal, to be able to find the best talent and to keep them. Thank you.
Candidate Goldberg, the same question to you. Again, by some measures, the most highly compensated teachers in Orange County and in the state of California teach in the Los Alamitos Unified School District. After a teacher has successfully completed his or her 3-year probationary period in the Los Al schools, it is nearly impossible to fire them. Discuss the pros and cons of this agreement, commonly referred to as teacher tenure.
Okay, so like I said, I was an elementary school teacher for about 10 years. So I didn't have a problem with tenure because I did my job. I did the trainings, I made all my evaluations were good. So I'm happy for tenure for teachers that are doing well. I think teachers work hard and I wish I could pay them more. So I'm fine with it for teachers that are doing well. The problem is when you have, so this is the con, when you have teachers that aren't doing a great job. We have a lot of wonderful teachers here, like Ms. Hill said, in the Los Alamitos School District, but there are some that aren't doing as well. And then that's hard because you can't fire them. And that's a difficult situation, but there's not really a lot you can do because a lot of that has to do with the unions and their contract. So there's not really much you can do to get rid of a teacher that has tenure. But it's hard for the children. Like I said, I currently have children in the district, and there's a few, and I could speak personally, where my high schooler has said she didn't even want to get up to leave her seat to go to the restroom because there's a teacher and she doesn't feel comfortable because she might get yelled at. So, and this teacher has tenure, and I've been warned for, oh no, I hope you didn't get this teacher. And I'm not saying that's even the majority of the teachers, but it's hard when you have even a few teachers. It affects your whole experience. So I wish there was something that we could just reward people, like in the real world. If you're not doing your job well, you get fired. I wish we could do that, but we can't. But only thing we can do is support the teachers as best that we can through professional development and encouraging them. But I appreciate teachers having been one.
This next question is coming right back at you. How do you define diversity, and what is the role of inclusion in the classroom? Identify any practices that need to be implemented or stopped in Los Alamitos public schools. Candidate Goldberg.
I think diversity, inclusion can be great things. I think when you have those, it's an opportunity to learn from each other, and then you grow as a human being and you can take those experiences out into the world. So I appreciate diversity. Learning about each other's cultures, I think is very important. Like I said, my children, they are, in my personal life, are diverse. And they feel very welcomed at the school, and I hope that for every child in the school. The part that I have some issue with in the classroom is I think sometimes it can be focused on a little bit too much. And sometimes we talk about so much about our differences, we forget how much that we have in common. I think we're actually more alike than we are different. And so I think those things have to be balanced about how they're approached. A couple years ago, and I was mentioning this, there was an assignment that a student had in the middle school that said, "Why am I a racist?" And then when that was brought to the district, they said that that met the social justice standards. I think that's inappropriate. So I think it has its place, but it has to have balance to how that's taught. Because like I said, I think we have more in common than sometimes we think. I think we have more similarities. The people I talk to in the neighborhood, we're not as far apart as we seem. I think most people can meet in the middle. And I think diversity of thought is also important, to respect other people's points of view. Thank you.
Candidate Hill, how do you define diversity and what is the role of inclusion in the classroom? Identify any practices that need to be implemented or stopped in our Los Alamitos public schools.
Thank you very much. And I have had two children go through this district and graduate. And there has certainly been a change in our community, and it has become more diverse, and it is a beautiful thing. I had a coffee chat the other day with somebody, and we were talking, and I love the way that she put this. She's a scientist, and she said, you know, scientists believe that the more diversity that you have, the stronger you are. And I believe that's where we are. And I believe that's where what we're finding in our community. And I'm going to use a word that can really be polarizing sometimes, but I want people to understand what we mean by it when we say it in this district. And that's equity. We have forever talked about equity, equity at that student's level. What does that student need? We want all students to have what they need at their place. They are individuals, and so they should have equity as other students have. So if one student has for example, if one student has a two-wheel bicycle because they can ride one, why would we give a kindergarten a two-wheel bicycle because they can't ride one yet? Right? So we need to meet that student where they are to have that equity. I also do believe that there are sometimes things that are misconstrued that the district is doing. We are all about having our children, I think, remain and have their innocence for as long as possible. That is something really important to me, and that I want to make sure that kids want to be kids and they all look at each other alike. And that's what we should be really enforcing in our school district.
Thank you. The final question for both of you. We hope that both of you will think outside the box a little bit about this one. And Ms. Candidate Hill, we will go to you first. If you had a magic wand and could change one thing about anything related to the schools and learning, what would it be and why?
I think that, as Mrs. Goldberg said, we are more alike than we are different. And that we need to get back to being able to learn to have discussion and to be able to give children what they need where they are. And I believe we do that very well in this district, but there's always more opportunity for that. And so I would love to see smaller class sizes. I would love for us to be able to do more pull-outs. I would love for us to be able, the high school teachers, not have to have 35, 40 students in a class. I would love for those things to be able to be available to us, and that really comes down to our budget, and we work as hard as we can to get there. But I believe that the more opportunities that we can have for our children at smaller class sizes, the more valuable is. Now, there is a point of diminishing return. Everybody thinks, oh, 12-to-1 would be great. There's not a lot of data that supports that. There is data that supports different levels at different age groups, and I would love for us to be at the optimal in every one of them. We're one of the districts that have really kept our school sizes our class sizes very small up until 3rd grade. That is such an important process for our children. And so I think if that was what I had as a magic wand, I think we would all come together with our hands in the middle, knowing what was best, and that each individual child was different, and we had to find a solution for that child, and that we could be able to have the smallest class sizes possible.
Thank you. Same question for you, Candidate Goldberg. If you had a magic wand and could change one thing about anything related to schools and learning, what would it be and why?
One thing. My goodness. So the wands, sometimes they keep going. You can get a few things. One thing is very hard. So I like class size reduction, but I would say when I've been in the neighborhood talking to parents, I would say the big concern would be transparency. That was the one reason that started me running, was transparency with the board, parental rights. So I would want to, even if people disagree, I would like to have a big, huge meeting and people bring all your concerns, bring your whatever it is, and we hash it out. I feel like we could figure it out. If we just come together, take issue by issue, okay, sports, what's going on with you guys? Because it seems like some things just don't get done, or it takes such a long time. I would like to get everybody in a group, okay, what's going on with the sports? Let's deal with it. Let's see if we can figure this out. Okay, special ed community, let's see if we can talk about what your needs are, and let's figure this out. So if I could really have my wish, it would take all the components of all the schools and somehow have, I don't know, a big get-together, big brouhaha. Let's just get it out there. Let's do it. Let's deal with it. Fix the problems that need fixing and move on. So that's what I would want. That's what's interesting to me. I'm like, let's solve some problems. Let's, make some things happen. I think that would be fun, interesting.
Your concluding statement can be up to 2 minutes. We'll go in the same order as the introductions. Candidate Hill, will you please start?
Thank you very much, and I once again want to thank the ability to be able to have this. There were a couple of things brought up that I really want to talk about quickly if I can, and one is mental health, and that really is a huge issue for us. And our wellness centers and our relationship with LAIF that has been able to make those things happen is just tremendous. And so I'm really grateful for that. I really do believe math is an issue. We know math is an issue. That's not anything that's hidden. We really started doing some really tough work on that in 2018 and 2019. We had put a lot of money into it, and what happened? The pandemic hit. And that was not possible. And we are regaining, and we are going to get much better at that and are working towards that. Declining enrollment. Our declining enrollment has been 600 over the last 10 years. And you, Rossmoor residents, asked us for that. 8 years ago, I sat in this room and listened to you ask me for that because you didn't want inter-district transfers driving into the community. And we have done that. Some has come because of the pandemic. There is no doubt about that. And statewide, everybody's having that issue. So we are aware of that, and that's one of the things we really need to make sure that we're on top of. I want to make sure that our staff and our schools remain stable, engaged, and advancing. This is a nonpartisan position, and I believe really strongly in listening to the voices of all parents. Your child is not more important than my child. Every child is important. We have to hear that. We have to hear about every child. But the board also has to have a 30,000-foot view, right? We set the goal and the vision for the district. We hire the superintendent and supervise the superintendent, and we listen to our constituents, to every one of them. And so I really appreciate the time. I am having coffees, and those are on the back of my card. The date for October 7th has changed to the 14th. I forgot it was the night before Taste for LaSalle. But I intend to continue those if I am reelected. So you can find more information about me at hill4lasalle.com, and there are also cards on your seats, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all today. Thank you.
All right, so thank you, RHA, for having me, and thank you, everyone, for coming. So I just want to say in closing that many of you moved here for the schools, but right now I think we do have some issues that need to be fixed. Does that mean that everything in Los Al is bad? Of course not. My kids have had a great experience, from the Sacramento trip to the Kona ice truck. I've been to the sporting events, the choir, orchestra, and it's wonderful. And I've recently met parents who have had kind words to say about Mr. Willems, who's the principal at LAE, and had wonderful words to say about Mr. Pulver from his Lee days. Let's say, as I've been walking through the neighborhood, I realized that we are not as far apart as it would seem. We may not agree on everything, but I've been able to find common ground with people that I've spoken to. Everything has become so political lately, and this is a nonpartisan position. And sometimes when that happens, the important things are forgotten. Like I said, I am the only person on the board currently that has children in the district. And while you don't have to have children in the district to serve, I think it does give you a little more insight into the here and now, and things are affecting me and maybe some of you every day. We are living in interesting times, to say the least. And I have a quote from Winston Churchill that says, "Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. It's also what it takes to sit down and listen." And I think I am your candidate that can do both those things. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Candidate Hill and Candidate Goldberg.
Oh,
Pardon me?
and if you want flyers, I don't have any. I left them at home. But my website is ronaforschoolboard.com. Or if you come to my house, we all live in Rossmoor pretty much, and just come get some. I live next to me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Good luck.